Welcome to Backroom Talk. Yeah, let's start with the CrossFit Games. That's next week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. James and I will hit this in a garage.
And between the two of you, who's gonna win?
Oh man, I hate to go there. Actually, I don't hate. I'd love to go there. So I think I would beat James in everything. Going online isn't going to save you, right? If you're a terrible online coach or trainer, you're not going to be successful online. Remember seeing like Vin Diesel and you're like, that dude is massive. And you get older and you're like, he wasn't that big.
I think young boys have different thoughts than young girls.
To listen to more Backroom Talk, be sure to subscribe. Learn to design personalized programs with the OPEX system of coaching by heading to opexfit.com.
So guys, we're gonna do this a little bit differently this week. Instead of having a guest, Carl and I are gonna sit down. We're gonna shoot the shit about some. I hope I didn't offend anyone with my curse there. Are we okay? You guys are cool, right? So we're going to talk about some stuff that's going on in the fitness world and beyond as well. And just weigh in a little bit, share our opinions from this little corner in the world that we exist in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Yeah, let's start with the CrossFit Games.
Yeah.
That's next week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, as we sit here and film this on the 13th of October. I believe it's October.
It is October.
Okay, cool. So next week, and it's relevant to us at OPEX because it's kind of an homage to 2007, and James won the 2007 games, first games. So they're calling it 2007 plus. So the idea is that they're going to, or the perceived idea is that they're going to repeat all of the 2007 events and then do some more, just because volume back then is a little bit different than high volume now. But before we talk about that, let's talk about the events themselves. So event number 1 was the hopper. So the hopper was 1,000-meter row buy-in and then finishing off with 5 rounds for time of 25 pull-ups and 7 push jerks.
What were the weights on those?
So on the pull-up, it was body weight, Georgia.
Thank you, Carl.
And then I think it was 155 or 135, 150. I have to look at
remember.
It. Let me, as we chat on this, let me make sure that we get that right. But anyway, so it's the hopper and then it's the trail run, which was about 5K.
Yep.
So I think they called it like 5K-ish trail run, and then ended with the CrossFit total. So a squat, a press, and a deadlift. So yeah, they're going to redo that. The interesting thing is, are they going to redo that exact workout, the hopper, or are they actually going to go back to the hopper, put those things in there? And just in case you guys don't know what the hopper is, it's almost like if you guys have played like old school bingo and you're like doing this thing and you pick out some things, that's what they did in 2007. But are they going to do that, or are they going to do the hopper? Like, what are they going to do the event itself? To me, it's more interesting if they go back and they just kind of randomize it a little bit just to see what kind of comes up there.
Totally. I mean, those events, obviously a total, like, we're just going to see heavier weights than we saw back in 2007. But if it is just those 3 events flat, it's not going to be the most exciting expression of fitness, given like the changes in the playing field from now versus 2007.
Yeah, I think it's always interesting to look at like what was done in 2007 versus what can be done in 2020. Because they redid the hopper in 2013, and just for reference, Brett Marshall came in at 13:07 and finished first in that workout, and Josh Bridges was like 8:33 and came in first. So you can kind of just imagine the differences in that amount of time. So 2013 to 2020, what would the differences be there? So that's always interesting. So just looking back at what we were capable of doing back in 2007 versus what we're capable of doing now is always just an interesting thing.
Definitely is. And gosh, I guess the reason we're speculating about this, for those that don't have the context, is Dave Castro leaked a little Post-it note. Was it yesterday he leaked it, or
Or day before yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah, alluding to the fact that these 2007 events are going to be making an appearance. And gosh, I know it was like, I'm not in the CrossFit space on a regular basis anymore, but it was such a big part of my life for a while when Dave gave those little tips, like playing the guessing game of like what's going to happen, what do you predict, like what do you make of this like crazy trodden on flower that's on the pavement that that he's posted a photo of. I loved that.
What did any of those actually end up being anything? I don't think so. Because I remember when those were at like their highest popularity was when I was actually in the sport, and like I would look at those things and I'm like, okay, got to get ready for this. Could possibly be that, and then the workout will come out, and you'd like look back at like the tip, and you're like, that had nothing to do with what this thing is. But I guess it goes to show. I think he was kind of just fucking around with everyone, and goes to show like, you know, how people can be influenced by, you know, just one dude kind of sitting behind his computer, drawing on a Post-it note and posting it on Instagram.
Totally. I mean, what do you think? So we're coming up on the games, not this weekend, the weekend after. What do you think the audience is going to be like for that, given we don't have this, you know, massive event at a stadium, given the online format so far?
Yeah, so I think I believe they're going to try to mimic what the NBA did, where it's like create a bubble. So the NBA created a bubble in Orlando. They finished out the regular season, and then they went through the entire playoff there. And then the Lakers just won the championship a couple days ago. So they were in the bubble for like, gosh, 45 or 60 days or something like that, where it's like they're in a hotel, they couldn't leave. If they every time they came back to the hotel, they had to get COVID tested. Like if anyone ever tested positive, they got kicked out of the bubble. So CrossFit's going to do something similar to that, where all of the athletes are going to go in. I believe it's like Wednesday or Thursday. I think it's Wednesday. They're going to be tested. If that test comes back negative, now they're inside of the bubble. If it comes back positive, then they can't compete that weekend, of course. And then they're just going to keep everything nice and contained. But I think they're going to do a pretty, I would suppose they do a decent live stream of it, because they did put out a live stream schedule out. I think it was this morning. So audience-wise, I don't think it's going to be in existence. I think anyone that's in the bubble is going to be the only audience, and I think athletes have like themselves and a +1 or 2 or something like that. So I think that's the extent of it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that affects people's performances. And I guess they're professional athletes, so you hope they go out and they do what they got to do, regardless of whether they're in a stadium or whether they are, you know, just there with their +1 and the film crew around them. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if that messes with anyone.
I don't think so, because when you look at stage 1 and what they had to do for stage 1, it was like, you know, they're at home or in their gym or on like a track, and they had, you know, a judge with them and maybe a couple people around them, and they're doing all of these, you know, crazy events outside of their element, relevant to competition. But I think athletes are just so used to, you know, jumping into an online format and competing for 6 weeks, right, every weekend, or having an amount of work to do over 6 weeks, or just like hitting, you know, local event weekend competitions and stuff like that. So I don't know. I don't think people are going to be weaker or slower, just because there's not, you know, a bunch of people around them screaming. If anything, it might actually affect the athletes in a positive way, where it's like pressure's down. It's just me, these other athletes, and we're just kind of in our element doing our thing.
You don't get like that audience of kids there, though, inspired to be the next generation of athletes.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, that is true. Yep. Were you one of those?
No, I was realistic. I was there. I went to watch the games in 2013 in Carson. Slight side note, funny story, but I was at UCLA at the time. None of my friends at school did CrossFit. I decided that I wanted to go and watch the games that weekend by myself. Some athletes from my gym in Australia were there competing, so I knew I was going to get to go and watch them. Decided to take a bus from UCLA to Carson. Ended up getting on the wrong bus and got kicked off the bus in Compton, which is like not exactly the place that you want to be.
home of Snoop Dogg, Dr.
Yeah.
Dre. Yeah, I love Compton. It's
Yeah,
one of the nicest places.
Really lovely place to be stuck in like bright pink hot shorts on my way to the CrossFit Games. Figured it out. I ended up getting a cab and made it there. But yeah, that was my games experience.
Little Australian girl in Compton. Just picture that.
Yeah, it was a sketchy couple hours there, but I made it.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see. James and I will hit this in a garage or something like that. Probably we're gonna go for this weekend, but if we're not able to go this weekend, we'll go next. But it'll be interesting to look at James and what he's able to do, at 46 versus what he was able to do back in 2007. I think he'll actually improve all scores except for his trail run. CrossFit total would be tough for him right now just because he's not, strapping it up anymore like that. But I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I think he'll match his CrossFit total at least, and I think he'll decrease time in the trail run, but who knows how long that thing was. So it's going to be difficult to understand what's an actual replication of that event.
And between the two of you, who's going to win?
Oh, man, I hate to go there, Actually, I don't hate to, I'd love to go there. So I think I would beat James in everything to include these 3 events.
Okay. Bold statement there, Carl.
I don't think it's very bold. I think it's just reality, I'm just a very realistic person. I'm just kidding, James. You're pretty fit.
Pretty fit for a 46,
yeah,
44, 40?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're going to make sure we stream that live for you guys and then have some clips after so you can see the original 2007 Games champ take on those workouts again 13 years later.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. Let's transition a little bit. Let's talk about what's happening in the fitness world. And we talked about it before we hit record here, but we're in such a bubble, right? Where it's like things that we're seeing across, OPEX gyms and OPEX CCP coaches. We hear so many positive stories and like, this is how I'm making it through COVID and this is how I'm making it through, a potential economic recession and all of that. But the reality is that we're in the beginning stages of this thing, and relative to the fitness industry and outside of our little bubble, this thing is impacting the industry as a whole massively. Just talking about, all of the commercial gyms that are filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Right now I think we have 24-Hour Fitness as a part of that group. We have Crunch Fitness as a part of that group, and then there's a couple more. And then, there's some other players that are kind of on the fringe there, but I'm not going to say anything because I'm not sure if that's going to actually happen. But kind of going down a couple levels, it's like, yeah, that's happening at a commercial gym level, but what's happening to coaches and trainers that are inside of these gyms? What was it? Online PT Academy?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
PTDC.
Yeah, they put out a survey. Let me kind of look at these numbers really quick. So based on the survey that they put out, so the title is COVID-19's Impact on Personal Trainers. So just to kind of wrap this thing up quickly, 58% of personal trainers lost some or all of their income. So it's like, how many lost $100 versus, $10,000 a month, right? So all it's saying is 58% lost some or all. 23% of personal trainers were furloughed or laid off. And of course, we're seeing that here locally as well, with like local commercial gyms shutting down, and PTs now no longer have clients to train, and these companies aren't offering like any programs for them to scale their own personal businesses. So that's an obvious thing with the gyms actually shutting down. And then 6%-ish of personal trainers hadn't yet found new jobs. So I think that's actually the most promising stat is, 6% of personal trainers are still, or only 6% haven't found a new job or a new career. But I think what's interesting is the amount of trainers and coaches that are leaving the industry as a whole. And that's what we're seeing a lot of right now. But we're also seeing a lot of new coaches, new trainers come into the industry because fitness isn't in a bubble where we're the only industry that was impacted by this. Bankers were impacted by this, flight attendants were impacted, like everyone's being impacted by it. So we're seeing at a similar or even larger rate of people getting into the fitness industry from other industries. So it's almost a wash when we look at the amount of coaches and trainers in the industry. But kind of going back to my first point, what is interesting is we're actually seeing the opposite, right, with our coaches that we're talking to on a daily basis. and our coaches that are inside of OPEX gyms, because they're not seeing this happen outside of places that that are a little bit more strict on requirements to open and requirements to operate your business, like New York City and stuff like that. So that's the interesting thing to me. And we're kind of biased, right? But I think we keep a pulse on the industry and what's happening as a whole. But what are your thoughts on that survey relevant to, because you talk to coaches every single day, right? Like, you're putting people into this program. So what are your thoughts on this survey versus your conversations that you're having with coaches on a daily basis?
Yeah, I mean, looking at the survey coming from the Online Personal Trainer Academy, obviously there was some bias. And when you read through it, like, you could definitely see that they were promoting the idea that online personal training is the way to go. And there were some positive stats in there showing that I think online trainers were less affected than other kinds of trainers. There's a bunch of trainers that have moved from in-person to online training, which is great. Like, that's positive stuff. And we certainly see that in our world too. And a big part of the reason why our coaches have been able to be successful when their gyms are closed is that they were able to pivot online. And I know, like, quite a few coaches, CCP coaches personally, who did the in-person thing, and they've actually decided that they want to coach online, have, grown from 15 to 60 clients. I'm thinking of one coach off the top of my head right now, over the last few months, and are making that shift into the online arena. How realistic it is for every single trainer that is in person to be able to make that switch, that's what I'm curious about, and whether it's lasting. Like, is online training something people are going to want ongoing? I don't know.
I think the people that are seeing successes right now online are outliers. They are, right? And I'm not saying that it's not possible to build an online business and all of that, but it's just so crowded. The market is so crowded. Once you get into that game, you're not only competing with other coaches and trainers that have an online presence, but you're also competing with influencers that are selling this thing online for $10 a month, and that have great bodies and great physiques. You're also competing with technology as well. You're also competing with people that are still able to have their on-site businesses still going and operating. So the competition is so high, and I think the people that we're seeing having success is people that have kind of a reputable brand or a reputable name in their communities, and it's being grown at a local level. And I know we talk about that local remote thing a lot, especially since COVID hit. But the people that are trying to, like, say, this is Carl's remote coaching company and I want to coach someone in Portugal, it's like, that's probably not going to work for me. And for it to work for me, I'm going to have to spend a lot of money in advertising to play that game.
For sure. And the other thing I see, the coaches that are successful, they are successful in a space that already understands the value of a coach. So a lot of people going from a CrossFit gym to doing online training, or an OPEX gym where people come to be coached. They don't just come to, like, get a good workout. They want that broader relationship and they see the value there. Going from, a Lifetime or an EOS or, another, like, big chain personal training gym to this online coaching relationship, that's like, people don't understand the value of that yet. And so I see that being really challenging for a personal trainer who's trying to get the clients who pay them, for 30 minutes for 3 hours per week, to come and train, to understand why it would be valuable to have an online coaching relationship and not just follow a group template program and do their workout at home.
Yeah, it's also important to understand that the magic isn't in the model, right? So it's like, online isn't going to save you, ID isn't going to save you, group isn't going to save you, PT isn't going to save you. It's all about you and the compounding habits and the compounding skills and all of that you've acquired as a coach slash trainer, and how you can, and what model works best with you and your set of skills. Because we see ultra successful PTs, right? So it's unfair for us to say that's a terrible model. No one should be doing that, because the PT that's, making, $50K a month is, like, on the other side, like, what's wrong with this model? I'm crushing it right now. we see group gym owners that are doing really, really well, right? Like they're making a lot of money and they're having a great time doing it. So it's always biasness always comes in when we're like, this model is better than that model. We think we have a great model, but we're realistic and we're like, not every coach and trainer fits well inside of our model. So that's also important to understand just because it's relevant to online training. It's like going online isn't going to save you, right? If you're a terrible online coach or trainer, you're not going to be successful online. So that's really important for coaches to understand. It's like take a step back and it's like ask yourself, what do you want to do? What are you actually good at? Or what do you want to put the time in to get good at? And go that way. And don't read a survey like this and think like, ooh, this is going to save me. I need to go online because that's where I'm going to make $1 million.
Yeah, I mean, as well as the coaches, not every coach being a good fit for that online setting. I think the client side is like just a glaringly obvious issue. Like there is such a small pool of people that are suited and ready for a remote coaching relationship.
Yep. And gosh, we could talk about that forever, but people are so nuanced and naturally we're just our attention span is like this, right? So we get disinterested in types of fitness very, very often. And we've seen it across the globe in clients and being in one model for an amount of time and they're just like, yeah, I'm a little bit bored and I want to do something else. And that's just so natural, right? So that's why it's important to, teach clients things as you have them. And, like we say, try to build that autonomy because those are the clients that are going to really appreciate what you're giving them. And sometimes that appreciation for what you gave them is no longer needed and they move on. But, when we start to look at retention and how long can we, hold on to clients, it's like it's tough to at a large let's say large scale. Like we have outliers where we've had clients for 10 years, right? But it's difficult to have a book of clients that have all been with you for more than 2 years. Like naturally 18 to 24 months is kind of the life cycle of a client. We're just pushing really hard to push that number to the right a little bit more and a little bit more. And we've done it, right? We've done it in OPEX gyms because that is well over 24 months for gyms that have been up and running for that amount of time. But it's like, why is that? Is it the autonomy? Is it the relationship that coach was able to build with that client? Does the client, or is it like the opposite of autonomy where the client's like, oh my gosh, I've gotten so much value from my coach. I couldn't imagine not having them because now I wouldn't know how to do this on my own, right? So the jury's kind of still out on that, but I think that's a great point. And it's like clients are so nuanced and it's tough to, every client in the world wanted to train online in May, right? I think we've kind of shifted out of that a little bit, even though we're still in this pandemic.
So, last point on that survey, and that is that we are seeing this influx of new trainers coming into the space as well as people moving on and leaving it. And like you said, it's probably a wash, like it's probably evening out. But we know that there are less gyms out there, less jobs available for those trainers to go and work in. What do you see happening there? And I know that's a big question.
Yeah, I think it's human nature to go back to homeostasis. I think in anything, it's human nature. We can look at the financial world and it's like we see ups and downs and the term is like let's wait until the market normalizes, right? That's kind of the same across the board. So I do think the industry will normalize, but I think the normal will look a little bit different where coaches will want to be a little bit more efficient in the way that they coach people. Coaches and trainers will kind of be thinking about what their backup plan is just in case something like this happens again, because right now the chances are really high that it happens again. But all that is to say that I think it'll normalize, and I think it's already starting to normalize. Like people are getting back into gyms. You have an amount of people that are still afraid to go back, and that's okay, right? Like people are in different circumstances, and COVID's a very scary thing for some people, and for others they're like, I feel like I'm healthy and I'm not worried about this thing at all. But I don't think the industry has been shaken to a point where 2021 is going to look like some back to the future shit where we're doing like something totally different than what we're doing now. I just think players are slowly coming into the space. like your Apples and all of that. And we've talked about that so many times, but I think that is just so positive because it's telling every single person that owns one of these things, these phones, that fitness is important, right? It's like I think awareness will increase. People will realize that it actually is important to be healthy. Gosh, what did Jeever say last week? He said something that was actually really good. He said it was almost like, we're practicing for the big game, right? And the big game is here, or something like that. And the big game is COVID. So it's like, have you been doing the right things leading up to this thing? Because now we're all being tested. And I mean, like, we're we're being tested in a way where it's like, oh, if I get this thing, what's going to happen to me, right? Because if we're a type 2 diabetic, we're probably really scared. You know what I mean? We're scared to go out. We're scared to go out without a mask and all of that. But I think, health and wellness has been kind of put on a little bit more of a pedestal, not to a point where, McDonald's is shutting down though, right? It's like, but I think the awareness has just increased so incrementally that it helps the industry.
Yeah, I mean, that is such a great point around the fact that many, many more people are wearing an Apple Watch and carrying an iPhone than currently prioritize health and fitness. And to the fact that at least they're going to have access to it, because there's a lot of people that don't have access. Financially, they can't afford a trainer or to go to the gym. A Fitness Plus membership is going to be a lot more affordable for those people. And maybe it's a gateway. Maybe it's something that they start to do and they start to feel better and look better and just enjoy their life more. And then they figure out ways to prioritize health because they've had that gateway experience. So fingers crossed.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a glass half full type person. So
yeah, that's the
yeah,
good one, right?
Yeah, I think that's a good one. But I think we'll be okay as an industry. Let's just leave it at that. I think we'll be good.
So I want to get like a little bit personal for a minute because we're sitting here and we're having a conversation about the fitness industry. Why are you having this conversation with me? How did you get into the fitness space? Why is this something you're passionate about? And I know that was a lot of whys, but what's your fitness origin story, Carl?
Oh man, yeah. Fitness to me was something that I did selfishly. So I can actually remember the day that I was like, okay, fitness is now a part of my life. It was, gosh, I was probably 11 or 12 years old. I was playing like baseball, football, basketball, and like I wasn't like your typical 7, 8, 9 year old that was like watching cartoons and like, going out and playing like, fantasy games with their friends. I was like watching ESPN. I was watching Sports Center. I was literally studying the back of trading cards to remember the colleges every player went to, their height, their weight, their statistics. It was just weird, right? Like that was my outlet, like sport. Okay. And I remember sitting, gosh, it was after a little league game. And I was a decent little league player. And I'd struck out, gosh, I think I struck out like 3 times for the first time in my life. I had like 4 at bats. I struck out 3 times and didn't get a hit on my 4th one. So I was 0 for 4. And I went home and I was watching a baseball game. And I remember it was a Cubs game and Sammy Sosa was batting. And I just remember looking at him. I'm like, that dude is pretty big. And that was before he was actually big. When you're a kid and you look at remember seeing like Vin Diesel and you're like, that dude is massive. And you get older and you're like, he wasn't that big.
I think young boys have different thoughts than young girls. I don't think I ever thought that about Vin Diesel as a 9-year-old girl.
Emma shook her head. Do you know what I mean? Okay, cute. Okay, cool. Vin, you're cool, bro, but you weren't that big. But anyway, I was watching a baseball game and I was like, man, he's a big dude. And I was like, that's what I'm missing. Like I need to get stronger. I need to get faster, and that'll make me a better baseball player. And then I'll be a better football player, and then I'll be a better basketball player. So naturally, I went to the bookstore and I bought Arnold's Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding, and because that's when I thought of lifting weights, I was just like, okay, Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? So I bought that book. That was like it was on a weekend, so it was on a Saturday. Monday, I was in the gym with two of my friends that I talked into coming to the gym with me, and I designed our training program. So I went through, I looked at like arms and like quadriceps workout and ham or exercises, hamstring exercises, and I just like put this thing together based on what Arnold recommended in that book. So I built out like this weekly plan, and Arnold was like, you have to be really consistent. You have to do these things over and over and over again, and you'll be able to lift more weights over time. So that's like periodization, but I wasn't thinking like that in my head. So I was like, okay, I'm going to put this 4-day thing together, and I'm going to go to the gym, and on Monday, I'm going to do this. On Tuesday, I'm going to do that. On Thursday, I'm going to do, and I'm 13, right? 12 or 13. And a month passed and it was no longer me and my two friends. It was just me. So I'm like, I'd be begging, like, 'cause I have much older brothers and sisters, but I'm begging like my brothers and my sisters or my mom to drop me off at the gym and, just leave me there for 4 hours and let me do my thing. And then I would just kind of figure it out and find my way home. That was a really long story, but that's like the origin, right? I need to get stronger so I can be better at this sport, because being better at this sport is going to allow me to go to college for free, right? And it's gonna like bring me notoriety. Like I was a little bit obsessed with that idea of being good, like being really, really good at sports as a kid. And 2 years passes. 15. I'm 15 years old. I go from 120 pounds as a 12-year-old to 180 pounds as a 15, 16-year-old. And it was like an addiction, right? I was like, yeah, I feel really good. I'm performing really well. Kind of like, I got to that 15, 16-year-old age, and I like, I put basketball and baseball aside, and I was like, I'm going to focus on this football thing. And I just used it as, in my head, I was like, I'm lifting weights and I'm exercising to be better at this sport. So I was just like messing around with all different types of programs and, going to camps at University of Michigan and Notre Dame and stuff like that. And like trying to like learn from these strength coaches, right? Like everyone's going there for the head coach, but I'm like looking at the strength coach and like asking him questions in the corner so I can like build this awesome training program that I'm bringing home. And then, high school's over, go to college. I'm playing college football, and I'm still attracted to lifting weights and exercising. And I fooled myself all those years thinking that I was doing it to be better at football, but I was actually doing it because it was such a challenge to me, and it was more of a challenge than the sport itself. And I remember very, very specifically when I knew my football career was over, the first feeling that I had was, okay, now I can work out without giving a shit if I get better or worse at football. And that was so relieving to me. So I'm like, okay, I'm finally done with this thing. Now I can just like go into the gym and explore a little bit. And my collegiate strength conditioning coach, Danny Laramie, Charles Poliquin was his like really, really good friend / mentor. So when I was a junior in college, I had a great opportunity to go to Rhode Island and spend time with Charles and learn directly from him. And at that time, I was like, I got to live this fitness thing, right? Because I knew that I wasn't going to play football until I was 40, right? I just like wasn't good enough. So I was like, okay, fitness is it. And based off of conversations with Charles, people on his staff, my collegiate strength and conditioning coach that I saw like lose his job, go get another job, lose that job, and then get out of the strength conditioning game altogether because, he was doing a great job on the strength conditioning side, but the team wasn't winning. So I was like, oh shit, do I want to do that? And I remember Charles was like, the dumbest thing that you could do is put your future in the hands of a head coach that knows nothing about strength conditioning. And I was like, what do you mean by that? He's like, if you do awesome at your job and your players all get stronger, they get faster, you're fulfilled, but your coach doesn't know how to run a good offense, you're going to get fired. And I was like, oh shit, that's a good point. So at that time I was like, okay, I need to reimagine this thing. And that was like '07, 8, 9, and that's when CrossFit became a thing. That's when I was introduced to James through Charles, and the world just kind of came together. And during that time, I was thinking about doing fitness for other reasons than being better at football. And I think James just kind of came into the picture at a really good time because he was a dude that was thinking, I wouldn't say similar things because he was like thinking about much larger things than I was as a college kid, but he was thinking about ways of putting strength and conditioning together in a way that doesn't only lead to being better at this or that or that. He was like, hey, let's get good at everything. And obviously it was because of his experiences in CrossFit and all of that, but that was kind of the introduction. Met James, took OPT, CCP, and my thoughts around strength conditioning and exercise and all of that just completely changed. So James had a much bigger impact than even Charles did on me, because Charles was like one of these guys that would see someone doing something and just say, that's fucking stupid, don't do that. James wasn't like that, right? He was like, yeah, that might be stupid for this person, but that could actually have some benefit for this person if these are the. And I was like, oh yeah, I like that. So that was very, very long-winded, but that was kind of like the path from a 12-year-old kid trying to get bigger, stronger, and faster to be better at baseball and not strike out 3 times, to meeting Charles and eventually James, and then here we are today.
That's awesome. I think that a lot of coaches listening will appreciate hearing you talk, with such fondness about that transition into just loving fitness.
And there was a bunch of weird shit in there as well that I didn't mention, like, personal training that I did and different models of fitness and, doing spin classes and like a bunch of random things that I've tried and, that I tried to implement in my own practice throughout that. But we could talk about like those specific things another time.
Yeah, we'll definitely save them for another conversation for sure. Yeah, cool. I guess last thing I want to finish with, because I just finished this book, and it's called The Righteous Mind. It's by Jonathan Haidt. If you haven't read it, I would recommend that you do so. And the reason it's like so on my mind right now is I feel like every conversation that I have with my husband at the dinner table is like, why does no one get along? Like, why are we all having such like hot-headed conversations? Why are we all shutting people down? And obviously, like, a lot of this has to do with the political climate right now. And we don't have to go there, but I see a lot of people that I really respect for the most part saying things that I don't respect, which includes like just shutting people down and just not being open to having conversation and really struggling to engage in like open discourse and trying to work together. It's just like this, putting up of the wall. And there's a big takeaway from that book. There's a lot of takeaways inside of it, guys, but like one thing I want to leave you guys to think about and to maybe dig in and research a little more around is this notion of the elephant and the rider that Jonathan Haidt talks about. And so basically,
he also talked about that in coddling
as
well, right?
Yes, yeah. He did indeed. I think he's come back to that a lot of times, but it takes a guiding principle that he kind of builds off. But basically, like, the notion is, think about yourself and your reasoning, like your conscious mind. So when you're making decisions and like you feel like you're thinking rationally, think about that as a small rider sitting on a very, very large elephant. And that large elephant that your rational mind is sitting upon, that is your moral intuitions. It is everything that has happened to you, your genetics, your, what he calls like your moral matrix, and the different things that guide your moral intuitions. All of those things that are not rational, that are not like your conscious brain and like you making the decision to pick the peanut butter sandwich over the cheese sandwich. It's all of the things that make you prefer that peanut butter sandwich without you even realizing why you prefer that sandwich. And so it is so easy for us to be, I don't want to say victims, but we're at the whim of this very, very large elephant that we're sitting upon. And as this small rider, it's really hard to change our course. It's hard for us to, make that elephant move in another direction. And so what it comes down to is he says that, we are led by intuition first, and we follow that up with strategic reasoning. So Our intuitions lead us. We're for some reason our intuition says we prefer peanut butter, and then after that we reason as to why we chose that peanut butter sandwich. And maybe it's because we read something about vegan diets and we don't eat dairy anymore, and our strategic reasoning helps us choose that. This is a really silly example, but we reason with ourselves as to why we chose that peanut butter over the cheese, but it's not actually that strategic reasoning that made the decision for us. It's our intuition. And so, gosh, we're coaches. We have conversations with people from all over, and sometimes our clients do things that just like seem totally irrational or strange and just like not, we can't understand them. It's like someone does something and you're like, you want to grab them and you want to shake them and say, why did you do that? Why do you think that way? But if you start thinking of other people as that elephant on, or not that elephant on a rider, as a rider on an elephant, it's going to help you cut them some slack and just be able to understand that we are not all like super rational thinkers, and we are subject to things that we don't even understand. And gosh, I don't know exactly where I want to go with this. It's just something that's really frustrating me at the moment, and it's that inability for us to to really cut each other a break and hear each other out and realize that not everything that the other side does is going to be rational. And they're not doing that with malicious intent. It's more that, intuitions have blinded them to the decisions they're making.
Yeah. The funny thing is the frustration that you're feeling, just kind of hearing you talk through that. I'm like, yeah, Georgia has, this elephant that other people don't have, right? So if we were to look at it, at the elephant at a very specific level, like the peanut butter and the cheese sandwich, versus right or wrong, right? So if someone's elephant tells them that something is wrong or right, they're going to be on either side of that, right? And, just because politics are relevant, that's what we're seeing a lot right now. Like, people believe so much in one thing or multiple things, and they may not even understand why they believe in them. It could be upbringing, it could be experiences. They could have believed something else before, and based on one of those experiences, they now changed the way that they feel, and they feel so strongly about this thing that they're going to shame anyone that's not on their side because they actually feel like they're right and everyone else is wrong. I think the interesting thing about right or wrong, like actions and thoughts and behaviors and all of that stuff, there is no such thing as right and wrong. It's just they're just there. Right? So in our culture, if you walked outside naked, people would say that's wrong. You shouldn't do that. But in a different culture, if you were to walk outside naked, people would be like, yeah, everyone's doing that. Right? So it's like the action of walking outside naked is just an action, depending on our elephant and what culture we're in or experiences or whatever, that makes that action right or wrong. So I think especially in this country right now and what we're dealing with across the board and what we've dealt with this entire year. Like, it's been a fucking weird year, right? It's like our brains have been all over the place. And the pandemic was kind of just like, boom, icing on top of this thing. But it challenged a lot of people. It challenged a lot of, like, even having conversations around racism and the pandemic and just kind of your upbringing and thoughts. Like, a lot of people felt like they were walking on eggshells because they were just like, ooh, I don't know if I want to tell people the way that I feel because I don't know if they're going to be offended or I don't know if they're just going to like burn me at the stake because it isn't what they wanted to hear. Right. So I think the idea and the principle of the rider and the elephant is so good and it's relevant, especially today. So I appreciate you bringing that up today, but it's, I think we can kind of extrapolate that a little bit, and there's a lot of different levels. So like the peanut butter level is like, here, right? But it's like, if we start talking about more impactful things or like more serious things, and we start talking about like what does someone think is right or wrong, or if we get into the coaching business and we're like, what is your moral compass, right? Like, what do you believe morally? And we have one here, right? It's like there's things that we believe, and another group or another company or another platform may believe something totally different. But I think it's always important to take a step back and say that's not wrong what they believe. It's just what they believe. So I think that's kind of the takeaway that I took from you kind of laying that out.
Gosh, definitely. I mean, my elephant, if we're talking about relative to fitness, my elephant today in OPEX land versus my elephant, 5 years ago in CrossFit land, and the decisions I made that I thought were totally rational and justified based on there's two different worlds that I've existed in now. Completely different. But I do really just hope that if there's one thing you guys can take from this, it is to next time you have a conversation with someone, just see them as that rider on that very big elephant and recognize that they are coming to that conversation with like a different elephant to your elephant. And like I said before, just cut them a little bit of slack and hear them out, and recognize that they may not be speaking rationally, and that sounds bad. They made up. Well, none of us are really thinking rationally. We're all subject to our moral intuitions, and we reason based on them. So just remember that when you have conversations. Alrighty. So guys, thanks for listening in today. And we will be doing these little Carl and Georgia backroom talk episodes every now and then. And we'd love to make sure we chat about stuff you're interested in. So if you could, just drop us a comment below and let us know what subjects would you like us to dig into. And we will absolutely, so long as they're not crazy, we'll absolutely hit on those in future weeks.
And we will ride our elephants to our conclusions, answers, thoughts.
Any of the above.